Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Knights Arena, Spike Down Episode 3. We've made it this far, which means we're only going to continue. It's only up from here. My name's Keith LaFortune. Joining me, as always, is George Geddes. We're going to talk everything and anything about challengers. We're going to go through feelings. We're going to talk about our feelings, get a little emotional, maybe. We're going to talk roster changes and predictions. Let's jump right into the feelings. George, last week was a bit of a roller coaster. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I think, some of the expectations that people had for some of the teams in, Group A is a bit, are we for sure? And, I think a lot of people are, uncertain now about how, what's going to happen, And obviously over in Group B, things are looking a little bit more, stable, I would say. I think the Guard and MAE really are, kind of proving that they're pretty much the top two teams, And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when, the finalization of those groups happen. Will those teams play against each other and what the result would be? Because I don't know, man. I think they look pretty even. I mean, I would still take the Guard if they were playing head to head, but I think they're pretty nuts. But obviously, if you kind of look at some of the other teams going down from I'd say from outside of the top two from each group, I think it's anyone's game, to be honest, really, other than maybe I guess the only team I'm not really confident in is esports at this point to potentially make a comeback run. But every other team I think could probably make top four, to be honest.
Yeah. It feels weird. I think, it makes sense. MAD Guard topping their group. Group A, I mean, the difference is you have four teams with a 1-1 record. Group B, you have two. So you can kind of see the difference. Shopify losing the auction, I think, was probably the biggest upset of last week. I think that's probably safe to say. And then you have to think, is this the form G2 are going to continue? I mean, if we had to pick, let's just go through a thought exercise. We're kind of almost at the midway point. Who do you see making the face-off, the mid-season face-off? For me, Group A, it's got to be G2, Shopify, FaZe, and I think it's going to be Auction Breakthrough, unless Turtle Troop have an unreal turnaround. And then Group B, I mean, Guard, MAD are the easy write-offs, and then it gets difficult. How do I pick out of Disguise, TSM, Mad Lions? How do I pick two out of those? I think this week is going to be, if Mad Lions get a win, it gets interesting. If they take a loss, it kind of figures itself out. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I don't know. I think TSM is one of these teams where, as we'll kind of get into with roster changes and stuff, I think they have a lot of expectations just because of the size of the organization, obviously the history. Yeah. I mean, if you actually look at the organizations themselves, TSM is top 3 in terms of overall popularity and, in terms of the expectations from fans going into this, because TSM is supposed to be competing with the best, and right now they can't even compete with the second best. They can't even compete with tier 2, and it's sad, really. But I think
it is.
If TSM really don't make it to the mid-season show, I don't know, man. I would be really disappointed. I think that they have a lot of expectations, and the fact that if they don't make it, it would be a massive kind of failure. I think it just goes to show that team might just need a full rebuild, because
they could.
I just think there's a lot of other talent, and I feel TSM keep putting themselves in this corner where they keep having this kind of revolving door of mid players, really. They're not really outstanding. The Guard kind of found these kinds of gems of players and stuck them together and actually made a really good roster,
Well, they gave them time too. I think that's a big difference maker. And I had the pleasure of talking to them actually recently, and their demeanor from all the other teams is crazy. It's it's us versus ourselves was the common theme against everyone I talked to. And then it was not only that, it was, we're not practicing to beat challengers teams. We're practicing to beat franchise teams. That's the level that they're at. And I don't know, maybe the only other team that's like that right now would be G2M80, realistically. So I don't know. I think this week is super important. This is almost the swing week, I think. After this week, we can be okay, these teams are making it. These teams aren't to the face-off. What are we going to see? It's a big week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we'll definitely get an understanding as to who actually has what it takes to kind of make it through. I think it'll be very interesting to see how some of these roster changes like potentially impact the like the actual quality of some of these teams. Because we do still have a little bit left. With the season, this mid-season invitational happens March 24th, I believe, day after my birthday. So well done for the timing there, Knights.
We're doing it for
incredible.
Your birthday. Yeah.
A little bit of a present there, I have to say. But anyway, obviously, I think we've still got a while. I think that these teams, I think realistically, other than like maybe or esports, I think everybody else has a chance of making it to the MSI. So, I wouldn't say I have expectations of them to do, of like teams like Breakthrough and Mad Lions to make it through, but I think it would be pretty bad to say that, they don't have what it takes. You know what I mean? I think they could definitely do it.
Yeah.
It's just
comes down to the
just a matter of yeah, for sure. Like which team's going to play which, and if anybody's got a pretty easy run or not. Like I think Turtle Troop, for example, is one of the teams that kind of had a pretty bad like run. They came up against the likes of Shopify and FaZe, and they should have beaten FaZe. So
absolutely. There that matchup was like after first map, you're like, okay, this team's like actually gonna do something here. And then the next two maps, FaZe just kind of showed up, but that kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth for FaZe. Is like, is this what we're gonna get for them? Like, is this all they have to offer? Another big org with a big fan base. It's like, oh man, this team might not be it. Like I didn't feel the impact from them. But you mentioned roster moves. What are we thinking with TSM, with Hazed stepping down and bringing in Ken Pecky? You lose an IGL, don't bring in an IGL. And from talking with them, Nature's kind of picking up that role more. What's your kind of thoughts on that? Right, yeah. Do you think that's a good move? Do you think it's something that needed to happen? I'm confused by it myself.
Yeah, it's like, again, it's like, I don't know why, because it's so strange to me, because I think Hazed is, first of all, he wasn't even like performing badly. Like individually, like I guess if you was to drop an in-game leader, it would be because they were like either their strategies were poor, or maybe he was just stepping down for his own reasons. But replacing him with Kampeki, are we looking at the same Kampeki here, or
we are? The older crew can.
I don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like we're just adding like mediocre players to the TSM roster, like. Do we have no?
I think with his run with the crew, the Sentinels run was very short lived. I think he was put in a tough spot there. I don't think we can really judge him on the Sentinels run.
I'll judge him. I think he's mediocre, to be honest. I think he's a mediocre player. I think realistically, look, if you want to make like some serious moves, go to like Stewie or something, drop an absolute bag on his head, and just say, listen, we want you to be like an ambassador for our org. Like, come in. Like, do you know what I mean? This guy was actually playing really well in the qualifier, because I think he could actually do pretty well. I don't know how he'll fit with the team. I just think it's one of these things where it's like, oh, we know of him. Kampeki's in the circle and this kind of stuff. And it's just like, you're just kind of doing this revolving door and it doesn't really achieve anything. So, I don't know.
Call me crazy. You look at a lot of teams and they have like a star, you know what I mean? Like someone that, I feel like they don't have that, Like I feel like TSM doesn't have that one name brand person. You look at G2, it's pick one of them. It's pretty much, it's like weirdly enough, Oxy and Jazz, right? Like,
Oxy, and then exactly.
The guard, it's Trent, right? It's a no-brainer. M80, it's take your pick, right? And it's like TSM doesn't have that oomph to them. Like they're good across the board, but it's like they're almost missing that key star that they can always kind of trust.
Well, they had that with Wardell, right? They had that with Wardell, and they kind of. Yeah, I think Wardell definitely had. Honestly, if you wanted to get Wardell back, maybe like that could also work, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know if he's got like ambitions to play pro again, or I don't know what his situation is. But him or Stewie, I think I'd just drop a bag and say, listen, come in and change this team around and see what you could do, because obviously the Wardell project, when it happened, kind of failed, I would say, considering the fact that a lot of like interpersonal issues happened. And from my understanding, from speaking from speaking to some of the players and the coaches at the time, it was a pretty rough like experience. But yeah, like you kind of need a name brand player, really, if you want to compete with some of these big guys, you know? Like, as you mentioned, you have the likes of Trent, Shaz, like you have these kinds of big names that have got experience at the international level. And it's like, okay, you know, what are you going to do now? You know, because are you just going to stick with like mediocre talent for the rest of your career? Like, okay, you know, like TSM made this big thing about saying, oh, we didn't make it into partnership. We didn't make franchising. We're going to put our resources into challengers now. Okay, we'll shove it. Like, TSM shouldn't be accepting mediocrity in any formal regard. Like, it's not something that this organization should be striving to do. You know, and I think there needs to be some sort of ambition here. Is Kampeki really an ambition? Like, is that an ambitious move? I don't think so. I think the signing of Eng was quite ambitious. That was a good start.
Absolutely.
But, you know, does he have the reins? Does he have what it takes? You know what I mean? Like, does he have we mentioned this before. Does he have the ability to, you know, change roster decisions and, you know, things like that? And I don't know. I don't think he does.
And right. And now heading into a week that's like a must-win week for them, it's going to be kind of brutal. And their first match backs couldn't be worse. It's the guard. Like, right off the rip. It couldn't be like the most prep-heavy match. You're getting a week of practice with Kampeki, and you're jumping straight headfirst into the guard. I mean, it is going to be that meme with that guy in the room that's all on fire, and it's like, this is fine. Like, you know, like it's not going to be fine though. So I'm curious to see if they can make the guard match close and win out. I might give them the benefit of the doubt. Might is the word I choose. I could go other ways. And let's talk about Turtle Troop, another team that plays on Monday. I mean, they made more change than just one, with Okeanos and Harmful being removed. Talk to me about the additions. What do you know? What can we kind of expect?
Well, I mean, it seems like you had all the information, Keith, from what I'm.
I did, but I want to.
No, go on. You could tell everyone.
All right, this is my moment. Official report from Keith LaFortune: Tig and Mame joining Turtle Troops. That's like out of left field. That is,
well, you know, these are just trials that are ongoing. Yeah. I think it's true. Like, I'm not sure if they will, like, fully, you know, complete these guys, like, integrate into the roster, and they will add them. But obviously, early signs are showing that these two will probably be the most likely candidates. I think I kind of asked around, and I think realistically there'll be a lot of role swaps. I think from what I can kind of gather about it all, like they're still kind of. I think it's more of like a rebuild now, because, you know, adding 2 players is quite major, especially when you have players that kind of play similar roles. Like, you know, they've kind of played most recently. I think obviously Tig is most known for his smokes, and then Mame kind of he kind of also played smokes. So it's like, you know, what's Weedy gonna do? Are they gonna swap him to like initiator, and then, you know, maybe keep Adder on Sentinel? And, you know, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think I think that there'll probably be some role changes. I think realistically you would want to keep Governor maybe on like full duelist responsibilities.
Maybe he goes back to his I don't know, maybe he goes back to his initiator roots and goes back to Sova, and you put Mame on duelist. Would that be crazy? Or maybe they share the responsibility.
He did play duelist, right? For some time. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You could have that shared responsibility of like Mame plays Raze, Governor plays Raze type of like Jet Raze mix.
Well, I think most of these players have pretty much played like almost every role. You know, maybe other than like 1 or 2, but, you know, I think they have what it takes. It's just about kind of finding which like role suits them best, I guess, and suits the team best.
Fits the system.
Yeah, exactly. So it will be interesting to see. But I think that the changes, I don't know, were they necessary? I mean, kind of, maybe.
That's such a tough start for them too. I mean, you look at their matches that they started with, and like, you already kind of had them starting 0-2 right at the get-go. I think every time we bet against them, right? I mean, you look at let's find their matchups. Shopify, first match. I mean,
Shopify and FaZe,
that's tough, right? And then you jump into the FaZe. The FaZe one showed promise, but couldn't close it out. And I guess maybe that's what grinded their gears. Is like, man, we're not clicking. You know, we don't know the inner workings of a team. And it seemed like some people were surprised. Other people were kind of on board with it. It felt very split in the community. And I guess their first match back is kind of Unlike TSM, who just made a change and playing guard right away, George Trooper jumping into a breakthrough match. So one that gives a little bit of leeway, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the questions I like to ask about this is, when you kind of make these roster decisions is, let's say you were to play those two teams again, but with Tig and Mame, would you have beaten them? Like, would you have really beaten Shopify and FaZe? Maybe FaZe?
Maybe FaZe.
Like, would that have changed? Yeah, I think maybe FaZe, but even so, it's like, it's like thinking about that, you have to kind of understand that, these roster decisions likely come down to things probably outside of like individual performance, unless someone is completely like, dogging it. Do you know what I mean? Like, which I don't think they was. Harmful had a pretty bad map, or had a pretty bad series against FaZe, but like that's only one series, so
you kind of can't hold that against them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does come down to like a various number of factors, but I think it's interesting. I think we'll have to kind of wait and see whether it works out. I think Tig is incredible. I think he's
Tig makes
a great
so much
player.
sense.
Yeah, I have no idea how he didn't get onto like a challengers team like Rossi did after that nation team disbanded. So it was very confusing to me. But we'll see. Obviously, it's good to see him back on a challengers team now. So at least he finally gets back in, right? So
that's true. Do you have any other rumblings of any other roster changes down the pipe, or you think this is it for now?
If I did, you could check it out on .esports.com, and then you would be able to, and then you'd be able to read all.
All right,
about
I'll wait like everybody else. That's fine. That's cool. No worries. Honestly, I think this next week is really going to be the kickoff. If Mad Lions lose, OR lose, I think we're going to see at least one change from each. And same with Breakthrough. I mean, realistically, they've had close matches, but at what point do you go, okay, we need to make a change. We're not going to make face-off. The mid-season face-off, let's make a change and let's look forward to Split 2. The points are increased. That's where we make a push. So I think that's kind of the mindset, I think, of a lot of these teams, and I'm excited to see it. Now, let's wait, I just remembered. Is this the week where Bind and Breeze are leaving us? And Lotus and Split are coming in? I think it is. It is.
Well, if you're asking me,
I'm pretty positive on that one.
I go call up Knights or something? Or?
Yeah, you want to make a call for me? Yeah, no, I'm like actually 95% positive that Split's coming in and Lotus is coming in, and with roster changes, I mean that makes this week even more crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if this is the week that these maps come in, it'll be very interesting because teams won't have a lot of practice on that. So
a week,
it'll be very interesting to see.
You can't ban them both.
They won't have long. I mean, Split is like, I guess, a little bit more like fundamental, but Lotus is, it is
so
really
different.
Like, yeah.
And that's where we might see some cool comps to tie it in. Is like we might get the Harbors, we might get the Neon, we might see a combo of Fade, Silva, Sky. Like that map to me allows for a lot of ingenuity until the meta's figured out. So I think we could see a breakthrough, the Turtle Troop and OR grinding these Lotuses to try to sneak a map off somebody, realistically.
Yeah. Be interesting. It will be interesting. I think it definitely favors those that are like quite aggressive, and I think that they kind of have these game plans where they just like hit bomb sites and just kind of go from there. And I think that they kind of have what it takes for sure. These kinds of teams that you mentioned. I think Harbor is. I think he's quite underrated on like Lotus. I don't think I've seen that really in the professional meta yet. But
pretty good from like.
I think I think teams will slowly realize that Harbor is actually kind of good on that map. I think home. I think that Harbor and Viper are like the best controllers on that map in my opinion. I think Omen sucks, but that's just my opinion. But
you could do a double controller on that map. I think, so.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a double controller map. And I think that
can't wait.
Also, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I think you might have some crazy like duelist picks as well. You might get Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix is okay in some spots.
See that? Everyone might run a different comp really till we figure it out. So that might make our predictions a bit different. I mean, we could
see Yoru.
Yeah, I'm excited now.
See Ethan on
that
Yoru?
just clicked in my brain.
Nuts.
He said he's surprised all the people picked that agent. It's starting to make sense. I mean, he has so much utility: double flash, double TP, clone. Like his kit is crazy. So I'm excited to see if anyone breaks that out. So with those maps coming in, we'll see. Let's jump into predictions now. We'll see if this changes anything. Let's start with Monday, just so everybody knows we're starting on Monday this week, not Wednesday. I know it feels a little weird seeing us on a Monday morning, but we're going to jump into it. Guard TSM, the first one. I mean, if this was a practice TSM team with the same roster who played this team at the Ludwig Invitational a while ago, I might be willing to lean a little TSM's way in a pipe dream, but I don't live in a dream world. George, I live in reality.
We live in reality.
Reality says guard. Reality says guard.
Yeah.
So
I think
is that kind of what you? I mean, you wear the jersey.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look, I'm repping the Guards jersey right now. I mean, I'm not biased towards them, but I think that realistically, I think the Guard are just better. I think if they were coming up against MAE, I'd probably be like, that could go either way. But TSM, they'll be fine. I hope. Touch wood. Otherwise, I look like an idiot. I'm sitting here in a Guard jersey saying the Guard will win. And then
TSM come out of nowhere. Yeah, Kempeki comes out and just absolutely demolishes everyone.
Oh yeah, like he just ruins like everything I've been saying. And they just they like clip it or whatever. It's like, what were you talking about, George? Yeah, nice one. Okay, whatever.
Breakthrough Turtle Troop, the two roster changing boys. I mean, you got to go Breakthrough just on that alone in my head. Personally, even with the addition of Tig and Adder playing out of his mind. By the way, I'm surprised Adder isn't headed somewhere else. He's incredibly talented, and I think this season is going to continue to show that. So everybody keep an eye on him. But personally, Breakthrough, a team that keeps getting marginally better every time they play. Turtle Troop, an unknown entity. I personally have to go for the consistent growth team in Breakthrough.
I don't know, man. I gotta go with I might go for a bit of a honeymoon period for that. Yeah, I think. Okay. I think if we really are introducing Split and Lotus, I think Turtle Troop could win. I think they could genuinely win this. So I'll say Turtle Troop.
Split like the back of his hand. So
I'll take Turtle Troop on this one. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I can't wait to hold that to you. Then Tuesday, G2 auction, right at the gates auction, a team that's taken a decent win over Shopify recently, now playing pretty much the titans of their group in G2. As good as auction have been, I don't know if they can hang with the firepower G2 have, personally. Again, I feel like I'm taking the favorites, but I have to go G2, barring Pony and Scuba popping off. That's the condition.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's become some form of ritual for me to mention that Scuba is incredible. I don't know how many times I have to say it. This guy is ridiculously good, So again, no idea how he's not on a partner team. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. That's a that's a discussion.
One day we will.
Yeah, we'll see it one day. We'll see it one day. But I think, I don't know. I would still say G2, but I wouldn't be surprised if Oxygen sneak it. I'll say that.
Yep. And same day. I mean, this day is full of just great matches. We go FaZe Clan Shopify, and after both of their matches last week, this almost feels like a close to 50-50 matchup. And if you go back to the beginning of the season, we wouldn't have thought that. I think we would have definitely, based on what we were feeling then to now, is Shopify is just the better team. But there's a hint of uncertainty here, and I kind of want to hear you go first this time so I can piggyback off your answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think FaZe is really hit or miss for me. I do think that they're a good team, but I do think that Shopify are, I wouldn't say they're more consistent, but I would say that although they're kind of going through a bit of a strange patch where they kind of had that loss and it doesn't really kind of make sense, but I think that they'll get back on track. I think they should be okay. So yeah, I'll say Shopify win this. But if they don't, then I think we might be witnessing a spiral, which is not good.
Yeah. And especially for a team that's been together for so long. I mean, at what point did they go, oh man, what do we have to do now? And then those thoughts flooding into their head. But yeah, I think the safe pick is Shopify. I think FaZe, if they're on, and I think this is a key for FaZe, they need to start winning or making first map close against teams that are equal to their skill level. If they keep losing first map, it's going to make every series more difficult for them moving forward. So barring them winning first map, I have to go Shopify. I think they've been more consistent, and I think FaZe Clan are too streaky at the moment. They still haven't found exactly what they're looking for. And I think maybe another week or two, we can see them starting to iron things out, but it's not there yet. And I think Shopify are great at abusing those mistakes. It's just, they're fundamentally really sound. So I have to go Shopify. And then let's wrap up the week. We normally start on a Wednesday. We're going to end on a Wednesday, and it's March 1st, so a brand new month. We're making a jump here. The first match of that day is Disguised in OR Esports. My hot take is OR Esports have been grinding, and this is the perfect match for an upset at the perfect time. That's my take.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think OR Esports suck, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. I think they don't look great. Look, I'll just say how it is. I'm much more confident in Disguised, to be honest. I think, I think realistically, I think Clear will probably just have an amazing series and just pop off and carry, to be honest, like he does pretty much every time. So I'm gonna go with Disguised on that one.
I will counter you there for the entertainment value.
Okay,
for what I'm right.
Fair. That's fair.
I get it.
All right, it's fair. It's fair. You're okay to have your opinion. That's that'll be fine. Although,
and as long as you don't hold it to me, we'll be good. Cool. Let's jump into the next one. M80 Mad Lions, the final one to end week 3, and this one again, I feel like this is kind of been the conversation theme of the show. The turning point for Mad Lions. I don't think they're gonna win it, but if they can at least show everybody that they have what it takes to at least punch up a little bit.
Well, you would kind of hope so, right? I mean, you kind of had well, I wouldn't say you had high expectations, but you had
decent DSG level.
Decent expectations. Right? Yeah, you had decent expectations of this team, and they haven't won. So, and it's against TSM and Disguise, realistically, you kind of should be beating these guys. I'm not
absolutely.
Especially for Dark Ratio when they were Dark Ratio, these guys were pretty good. So I don't know. Mad Lions, bit of a unknown entity for me. So I think M80 will take it. Really, I think they'll win.
And Mad Lions, they started with the 2 matches that they really needed to win, because in the middle it goes M80 then Guard. I mean, that's just brutal. And I think they have to win one of those matches to have a chance to sneak it in 4th. They lose this M80 match, the Guard one's almost a write-off. It's that's Mad Lions.
What do we do now? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's where do we go from here? So I think they have to at least win this M80 one. I don't think they will, but I think they have to win this M80 one to write off the Guard match and then ride into the sunset and sneak into 4th place if they beat OR. But it's going to come down to how Disguise do too. So too many variables, too many things to worry about. I'm going M80. And that's going to do it for us. That's the show. Make sure to check out Knights Arena on Twitter. And for the full show and past episodes, head to the Knights Arena YouTube. And stay tuned, as the matches will kick off soon. Take care.